So good evening everyone. So this is lecture for getting started with React, and I create a PPT for you. The PPT will be open within a second. Just wait. Okay. Yeah. Here is the PowerPoint live presentation. Yeah. The PPT has been opened, and here is the first banner of Microsoft Learn. Yeah. This is our today's topic, getting started with React. Prerequisite. So there are four prerequisites. The first one is knowledge of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Git. Second one is knowledge of package management with Node.js and npm. Third one is Node.js and npm locally installed. The last one is a code editor such as VS Code, also known as Visual Studio Code. Now we go for the what are the learning objectives for this today presentation. So the first one is explore React and JSX. Second one is install React and create a project. Third one is create a React component and dynamically display data. The last one is apply style to a React component. Yeah. Now we go for introduction to React and JSX. Hmm, just a second. Yeah. So introduction to React and JSX. So first of all, React is a open source front-end framework. Second one is React introduce JSX or JavaScript XML. JSX can be used to create React components. And the last one is during this workshop, you will create a page to display recipe titles. Now we go for introduction to JSX. So JSX allows HTML and JavaScript to be combined in one file. Second thing, it allows for faster development. Third one, JSX follow XML rules and it includes all elements must be placed inside one parent element. Another one is all elements must be closed. Browsers do not natively support JSX. JSX must be converted to HTML and JavaScript through the build process. Several tools exist for managing this process, including White, Webpack, and Snowpack. This course uses Snowpack. Now we go for another thing that is components. So React development is based on components. Okay, components are reusable blocks containing both UI and logic. And another one is exercise. So create a starter project. Yeah, this is a React app structure, and here is the application host. So every React app will contain a HTML file to host the app. Second one is note the div element with the ID app, and here is a code you can see in the slide. First we have a doc tab HTML, then we have HTML lang is equal to language which are used, then we have head, then title recipe.title, and all this code you can see in the slide. Now we go for the code of JavaScript. So React apps often use index.jsx as a root the project. as a root the project. This will typically load the React app and place it on the page. Now we have another thing. The code which we have written, it is in the JSX language. Okay. Now we go for another slide, that is exercise create hello world. So now we have a create your first component. So for creating your first component, we have a four sections. The first one is React development is based on components. Second one is components are self-contained, reusable units of UI and logic. React projects typically contain many components. And the last one is while React components can be function or a class, we will use functions in this workshop. Now we go for another slide, that is a core component. So many React projects start with the one core component called app. And here you can see the JavaScript code. Now we go for another slide, that is a exercise that I create for you. The exercise know how to create your first component. So first of all we have a display dynamic data, and then we go for another thing. Display dynamic data contained inside JavaScript use the syntax sometimes called handlebars. Now we go for another exercise, that is create a recipe title component. In our example, we will create a component for the title of a recipe. And there is another code in the language of JavaScript, which you can see in the slide. Now we have explored the code. Notice that we create a constant name title. Then we have another exercise, that is display dynamic data. Then we have a add style to a React component. Yeah, and the last one is knowledge check. Before going to the knowledge check, we all go through the once again the presentation of getting started with React. Yeah, so here it is. So first of all, I again repeat you, React is a open source front-end framework. React is a front-end framework, and the second one is React introduce JSX or JavaScript XML. JSX can be used to create React components. And the last one is during this workshop, you will create a page to display recipe titles. These are already covered. JSX allows JSX allows HTML and JavaScript to be combined in one file. And the second one is it allows for faster development. And the third one is JSX follow XML links. All elements must be placed inside one parent element, and also all elements must be closed. And the last and main thing, browsers do not natively support JSX. JSX must be converted to HTML and JavaScript. Before going through the introduction to JSX, we will cover the introduction to React, and now we cover another topic, that is introduction to JSX. After this, we go for the component. So it contains two sections. The first section is React development is based on the component. Components are reusable blocks that contain both UI and logic. And you can see in the picture, here is a box in which we have two components. The first one is project, and another one is cart, and third one is product list component. Now we go for another slide, that is exercise. So I create one exercise for you, that is create a starter project. Then we go for another slide, that is app structure. Yeah. So here is the application host. Every React app will contain an HTML file to host the application. Next one is node the div element with the ID app. And in the above mentioned, we have a code in the language of HTML. Now we go for index.jsx. Yeah. So React app often use index.jsx as a root to the project. So after this slides, we go for the advantages and disadvantages of the React. These are already covered. Yeah. So now I tell you what are the core concepts which are discussed in the React language. So the first one is we have a component. So it has a reusable building blocks, and the building blocks has a two types. The first one is functional component and the second one is class component. The functional component is defined as a function and the class component is defined as a ES6 classes. And what are the props, state and lifecycle methods? Yeah. So the props, it has input data passed to component. Then we have a state, component specific multiple data. And the third one is lifecycle methods. It hooks or method trigger during a component lifecycle. So now we go for React features. So the first one is virtual DOM. It has efficient UI updates, hooks. It introduced in React 16.8 for functional component. Example useState, useEffect. Now we have context API. It simplifies state management. And the last one is React Router. So it enables routing in single page apps. Okay. Mm, Now we go for hooks. Sure. So now we have hooks. So first we have a use state, use effect, use context, reducer, and the last one is use reference. So in the use state, it manages state in functional components. Now we have use effect. It performs side effects like fetching data. Third one is use context. It assess context values. And the fourth one is use reducer. It complex state management. And the last one is use reference. It assess DOM elements to persist multiple values. And the fourth one is state management. In the state management we have a three things. The first one is React Context API, second one is Redux, third one is Recoil, Gestant Mobs. In the React Context API, it has for a small scale applications. In the Redux, which is for complex state management, and the last one is other alternatives. Now we go for another feature that is styling. So it has inline styles, CSS modules, style components, tailwind CSS, etc. And also it has a build tools. It create app in the quick setup. White has a faster alternative. Next.js framework for server-side rendering and static generation. Now we go for best practices about the React. So it has optimized performance using React.memo and lazy loading. You can use the prop types or TypeScript for type checking and avoid overuse of state. And also it has a component modulus and reusability. Now we have a React architecture. In the React architecture, we have a JSX XML. So it allows writing HTML in JavaScript. Also, we have some properties. So it read only inputs passed from parent to child components. And another one is state. So it has a multiple data managed within a component. After it has a lifecycle method. The first one is component did mount, second one is component did update, third one is component will unmount. And now we go for some React features. The first one is virtual DOM. So React maintain a lightweight copy of the real DOM, making updates faster and efficient. Then we have a hooks for functional component. So it introduced in React 16.8 to use state and lifecycle without writing class component. Now we have a use state, use effect, use context, use reference. In the use state, it manages data. In the use effect, it handles side effect like fetching data. And in the use context, it assesses context values. And the last one is use reference. It directs DOM manipulation or persisting values. In the deep definition of context API, it simplifies global state management without using Redux. And we have advanced topics. The first one is state management libraries. In the state management libraries, we have a Redux, Movex, Recoil, Justin. And for the styling of React, we have a CSS modules, style component, emotions, uh, tailwind, CSS. And another one is performance optimization. In the performance optimization, we have a React.memo. So it prevents unnecessary renders, use callback and use memo. It catch function and values. And the last one is code splitting with React.lazy. So now we go for testing React apps. It has a unit testing, Jest, React testing library. Last one is end-to-end testing, Cypress, Jupyter. Now we go for framework and tools. So it has some development tools. The first one is CRA. CRA is React app with the help of boilerplate setup. And then we have a White. White is a modern, faster bundler. And the third one is Next.js. It is a full stack React framework for SSR, static generation, and routing. Now we go for dev tools. So React Developer Tools extension for Chrome, Firefox. The another section is building and deploying. So Webpack or White for bundling, and it also has another feature host on Netlify, Vercel, Firebase or AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Service. Now we go for React best practices. The first one is write small reusable components. Second one is use functional component with hooks. Third one is use prop types or TypeScript for type checking. And the fourth one is avoid deeply nested state. And the last one is use React Dev tools for debug efficiently. The seventh one is popular libraries in React ecosystem. So here I mentioned some libraries which is very popular in React. The first one is UI libraries. In the UI libraries, we have a material UI and design. Second one is animation. So it has a React Spring, Framer motion, and the third one is form handling. In the form handling, we have a make React hook form. And the last one is data fetching. So now we go for React Fiber architecture. So React Fiber is a complete rewrite of React algorithm introduced to improve rendering performance and enable new features like concurrent rendering. It allows React to split rendering work into units and separate it over multiple frames, resulting into smoother updates. And here is the key points. So it has three key points. The first one is incremental rendering, second one is prioritize, third one is concurrency. So in the incremental rendering, it breaks rendering works into chunks, allowing for updates to be paused and resumed. The second one is prioritization. It assigns priority to updates, ensuring critical updates are processed first. Then we have the last one, that is concurrency. It enables React to work on multiple tasks simultaneously, improving responsiveness. Now we go for another thing, that is error boundaries. So, error boundaries are React components that catch JavaScript errors anywhere in their child component library, log those errors, and display a fallback UI instead of crashing the entire application. Then we have a key points. The first one is lifecycle method. Second one is scope. The lifecycle method, it has a it utilize get drive state from error and component it catch for error handling. Next one is scope. It catch error during rendering in lifecycle methods and construction of the whole tree below them. Then we go for the portals and what are the key points of the portal. Portals provide a way to render children into a DOM node that exists outside the DOM hierarchy of the parent component. Then we go for key points. It has the use cases. It's ideal for models, tweaks, and overlays that need to visually break out of their parent container. Then we have a event bubbling. So it has the event within a portal propagate to ancestor in the directory, even if those elements are not ancestors in the DOM tree. The fourth one is React concurrent mode. So concurrent mode is an experimental set of features that help React app stay responsive and gracefully adjust to the user device capabilities and network speed. And then we have features. The first feature is time slicing. So it separates rendering work into chunks, and we have explored the code, allowing React to handle high priority update first. Second one is suspense for data fetching. So it allows component to wait for something like data before rendering. And what are the key points? So it improves user experience. So it also enhances the ability to respond to user input quickly, even during complex rendering tasks. Also, it has another key point, that is adoption. So still experimental use with caution in production environment. And the first one is SSR. SSR is server-side rendering and static site generation, also known as SSG. So rendering React application on the server can improve performance and SEO. And here is the key points. SSR generate HTML on each request, ensuring content is always up to date. Second one is SSG. It generates HTML at build time, serving pre-rendered pages, which is faster but less dynamic. And the next one is React Profiler. The React Profiler API helps measure the performance of React applications by identifying components that are rendering too frequently or taking a long time to render. And here is the key point. Uh, the first one is performance monitoring. So it helps identify performance bottleneck in React application. And the another one is granular analysis. So it provides detailed timing information for each component render. So now we have the last part, that is knowledge check. Before going through the knowledge check, here we end the last slide, introduction to JSX. Here is the component and the application host. Yeah. So here is create your first component. React development is based on the component. Second one, components are self-contained, reusable units of UI and logic. Third one is React projects typically contain many components. And the last one is while React component can be a function or a class, we will use function in this workshop. The next one is core component. Many React projects start with one core component called application. Now we have a display dynamic data. So to display dynamic data contained inside JavaScript, use the syntax sometimes called handlebars. Now we have a create a recipe title component. In our example, we will create a component for the title of recipe. Now explore the code, display dynamic data, and now we go for the knowledge check. The first one is what is JSX. So here is the three options. The first one is combination of JavaScript and XML. Second one is new version of JavaScript. Third one is the output of a React project. The answer is combination of JavaScript and XML. Question number two. Why would you use JSX to create a React application? The first one is JSX is the only supported method for creating React application. Second one is JSX allows JSX allows for good code management. It injects the necessary logic with your HTML. And the last option is JSX is supported by all browsers. So the answer is option number B. JSX allows for good code management. It injects the necessary logic with your HTML. And the last question is what is the purpose of a bundler in web development? Here are the three options. The first one is to generate JSX. Second one is to convert JSX and other resources into JavaScript. And the last one is to bootstrap an application. So the answer is to convert JSX and other resources. Option number B. And now we go for summary. So here is a summary. React is the most popular front-end JavaScript framework. Front-end Java framework. So here is the three options. The first one is understand the core concept of React, create a React application. And the last one is create a component. And here is the next step. Now we go for चाबी देंगे नहीं यार. And it is the last step. Practice your knowledge by trying these learning modules. And I mentioned all these modules in the above mentioned section. Thank you for joining this class. Now we will meet in the next lecture. That is for getting started with React part 2.